Community College District Board of Trustees to order. Today is Monday, July 10th. There are no reportable actions from closed session today, and we'll ask our distinguished President Superintendent to lead us in the flag salute.
Good thing we're tied tonight. Please join me in saluting the flag of our great nation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On to public comment per board policy 2350. Any person may address the board at this time on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of this board. Maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, maximum 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. I'll now take public comments concerning items on the agenda. Anyone with comments? Pretty easy to scan the audience here with what, 5 of you out there, right? Any public comments concerning items not on the agenda? All right.
Wait, we might have some public comment.
Yeah, we have a call in. We have a call in. Board and executive staff reports, student trustee report. It is summer recess, so we will not have that. Board member reports, trustee Sherman, trustee Nunes.
No report.
Trustee Macareno.
No report.
You gonna?
No report.
Yeah?
I'm gonna follow suit or I might get in trouble.
Okay, well, I have nothing. Moving on in a breakneck speed to foundation report, Mr. Foster.
I contributed enough to
All right. Well, it's been very good so far. You quit while you're ahead, right? Accreditation report.
Okay, I'm going to
Dr.
break the
Lucerna.
streak and have a report here. Good evening, everyone. In your packet, you have a list of the results from the commission meeting. We met in June, and the just announced were the results of the review of the accredited status of the institutions in 2023. So in the first section, you can see all of the institutions that were up for a renewal of a reaffirmed of accreditation for 7 years on the basis of a comprehensive review. And interesting, you'll see the entire Los Angeles Community College District was up, and they did fabulous. So that was interesting. So this is the highest level that you can get for accreditation. All of these colleges were affirmed the full 7 years. The next 3 were reaffirmed with the basis of a follow-up report: Long Beach City College, Santa Barbara City, and Southwestern. And so that basically means that they had something they needed to complete or finish, and they'll, within the next 6 months to 12 months or 18 months, submit an additional report before the full 7-year information. There were 2 colleges that were requesting to move from their current accreditor to the ACCJC. That was the Long Island Business Institute and the Salvation Army officer training program. Those were very interesting to learn about, and they were both granted initial candidacy as they complete all the work they need to do to become full members of the ACCJC. And then the midterm reports are the next group. They just basically are accepted. And then the 2 colleges that on the back, the 2 colleges that were given initial candidacy also had to do a teach-out plan. And so those are on the back, but that's like just a perfunctory thing that everyone has to do. So that is the results of the meeting.
I have a question. So like with the new, has there been a shift? I mean, are colleges just not being, have colleges gotten better at what they're doing, or has the standards changing allowed more people to get by and not be put on such strict controls like before, or a little bit of both?
So the new standards are not, none of these colleges went through the new standards yet. Wait, one of them. No, they didn't.
Okay.
That's coming up next, the next round. These are, I think it's a combination of, well, last time they weren't all perfect, but I think it's a combination of the changing leadership at the ACCJC and the work of the colleges really doing what they need to do.
Like the San Franciscos are getting back in order.
Well, some of those aren't, it's cyclical.
Yes,
So some of
yes.
those colleges aren't in this group, for
Right.
example.
But does it seem to you that those that went through that time, because of all the fiscal advantages that we've had in the last 5 years, are a lot of those going to be able to come out? What would be your guess, out of their hole, kind of, I guess, or?
There's a whole different section on fiscal monitoring, and there are several colleges that are in that situation right now where they're having just fiscal monitoring, and it will be rolled into their next, evaluation or peer review. And so there are several that are still struggling significantly with financial issues, done through a different process.
And then how about institutionally? Do you feel like improvements have been made, or do you feel like through COVID, some are going to struggle through the institutional organization in terms of how they operate due to COVID and union issues? What do you think?
Personally,
I'm
a little
curious
bit
on
of
what you
both.
see. You must see some really interesting things.
A little bit of both. I think that a lot of it's very different from a lot of colleges are very different from the way we have approached this return, and some are still very much online, and it'll be interesting to see how that continues through the next few years.
Okay.
So.
Obviously, when they get evaluated, all that stuff is going to come out.
Yeah, and any college that offers a predominant number of classes online or a program online, they have to submit a substantive change to show that our whole program's online, that kind of thing. And so there is that process that they would have to go through. I think that the enrollment is impacting a lot of colleges still very much, and so that's going to come out maybe in the next group of fiscal reviews.
Okay. Curious to see.
Jennifer, if I could add to Lori's first question, none of these are on the new standards, but there is a new approach, the summative formative.
True, yeah.
Which is huge. So it used to be you'd submit your institutional self-evaluation report, your ICER. A team would review it somewhere, and then the entire team would march onto your campus and basically verify everything in that 400-page report. And now, the semester before, you have a site visit. That team meets off-site somewhere. My team met in Sacramento, and we went through the ICER. We went through all the supporting documents. We were able to follow up with them and say, we still need some information on this, and this.
Before you went to the visit.
Before we went to the visit. And then they're given a couple of months to follow up with that. And so by the time you do the visit, first of all, you don't need all 10 or 11 members. Like my team was 5 of us that actually went there. We funneled it down from all these things down to like 3 or 4 different items. We took 2 days instead of a whole week. And so that's a big part of it too, I think. And that I think that comes along with just the focus of the new management leadership team at the ACCJC is more of
Not catching you, but helping you be
self-improvement
better.
as opposed to gotcha. Yeah.
Yep, okay, that's
And
Fair
yeah,
enough.
yes, and I
That was
agree.
kind of my question.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I agree
Yes.
100%. That has made a huge difference.
Yeah, that kind of was my premise. I guess I should have made
Yeah.
it more clear. So Brent, you kind of read my mind. I was just wondering if that had changed kind of just the way it gets done.
Yeah.
It's more proactive instead of reactive, which I like. Good.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Board, thank you.
Superintendent President's report, Dr. Calvin?
I don't have a whole lot, and what I do have is not great news. The first thing is just a reminder, John Zumwalt's wife, Judy, passed away here a few weeks ago. There is a celebration of life planned for August 4th. That's a Friday. I should have a time, but I don't right now, so we'll follow up by email with time and place. But it's Friday the 4th. I'm sure it'll be in the morning, probably 10 or 11 a.m., but we'll get you the details on that. Also got word last week that longtime former trustee Luther Karjigian, I think he spent 4 terms, 16 years on the board, passed away. Luther was very, very supportive of this college and this region. He was a madman on the sidelines at our basketball games, even back when I played in the 80s, and he'll certainly be missed. And I'd like to do just a brief moment of silence here in a second for Luther. And I'd like to also include a young man that we lost by the name of Andrew Teller. He is the son of Dr. Joseph Teller, who's one of our professors here, 18 years old, diagnosed with cerebral palsy from birth, but he never one time let that steal him of his joy. He was just an amazing young man, and through the visitation and funeral was able to learn even more about this remarkable young man, and heart's just aching for Joseph and Mariana and their 4 children. But Andrew was quite a young man, and he'll definitely be missed. So if we could just do a moment of silence for our old friend Luther, and also for Andrew, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Next up is the Academic Senate President's Report. I don't see Mr. Arzola. Anyone providing his report? Seeing none. Nor do I see Ms. Redden. Anyone providing her report? How about Ms. Kane? Providing her report?
Come on, Osiris, get up here.
It's summertime. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Osiris.
And nothing from COSAFA either, right? Okay. All right, so moving to consent calendar, we have 3 items on the consent calendar. All items on the consent calendar considered routine will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustee or any person in the audience and considered as a separate item. Are there any items we would like to pull from the consent calendar? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve as presented.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Trustee Sherman and seconded by Trustee Macareno to approve the consent calendar as posted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And no abstentions, I see. Okay, so it passes unanimously. The action item, Mr. Woods, the first of your items is the 5-year construction plan.
Yes.
Welcome.
Good evening. Well, thank you. 5-year construction plan, the 2025 to 29 5-year construction plan is submitted to the Chancellor's office this summer. We submit it on an annual basis. As you can see, it's due at the end of the month, well, August 1st. It's actually incorrect. It was due a couple days ago, and I'm late, so I'm getting it in this week, but we're okay. I got an extension. So I think I'd like to just jump to the list on page 3, if you don't mind, and stop me at any time to ask any questions that you may have. So this is a 5-year outlook of all the major projects throughout the district. Starting at number 1, which is currently under construction, is the Basic Skills Center, also known to us as the Educational Support Services Building. And we are wrapping that up. We are a month away, we're weeks away from occupying it. And it'll be open for students on the first day of school, but it is gonna be a mad rush to get there. But it's a fantastic project so far. I can't say enough good things about everyone that's involved, the contractor, Fork and Mackey, we have Teeter Architects on board, Kitchell is doing the construction management work on that project. Just a phenomenal project, so I'm really looking forward to getting that done and opening it up for everybody.
So we should get a tour then, and maybe in September would be good, or October.
Oh, I think we have a ribbon cutting scheduled for September the 1st. Friday the 1st, yeah.
We're also, I should have reminded the board too, convocation will be on Friday the 11th. And as part of that morning, we're going to give folks the opportunity to tour either that building, the football stadium, or the basic skills, the basic needs center, the giant marketplace is what we call it, right across Meadow from the Educational Support Services. Assuming that they're all in a state where they can be seen, I'd like to kind of give folks the opportunity to peek around a little bit if that's a possibility. So,
Is that August 11th?
yeah. So you may be getting your tour a little bit earlier than that.
Okay,
And
okay,
we
but
are gonna
September
do-
1st is the ribbon cutting,
Yeah,
okay.
the Friday the 1st will be the ribbon cutting, and then we'll have the first game in our new stadium on Saturday the 2nd. So,
Oh, awesome, okay.
yeah, should be a busy week.
It'll be a busy week, yep.
A
So,
little more enthusiasm, Byron.
I just need to get through these next couple months. Moving on to, so as far as the Basic Skills Center, Educational Support Services, we're right on target with everything as far as schedule, as far as budget. Again, the project's gone so smoothly, great people involved. It's gonna be a success, definitely. I think people will really enjoy it. The project number 2, you'll see the Stadium Improvements Project. That is 100% locally funded, right up under the 10 million mark, and we are just grinding away out there. We have, the district did a multi-bid delivery, as you can see right there, multi-prime approach. So we're juggling about 5 different contractors right now, and everybody's working together fantastically. It's also going great. There's just a lot of pieces and a lot of work to get done, and it's all about sequencing. So we're gonna get there. We're gonna find a way to get there, and I got to get this thing open by the first home game on the 2nd. So, but the end result is going to be worth it. It's going to be amazing. Project number 3 is currently under construction, the Tulare Center Phase 2. That's the CTE expansion on the Tulare campus. That is also 100% district funded. So we're at $39,200,000, approximately $34,200 for construction.
What's happening out there right now?
They are getting ready to pour slabs. So all the underground utilities has been just about completed. And they're getting ready to pour some concrete, very soon. And that one got a little bit of a late start, I would say. But I think the contractor, he's going to start stacking his schedule, and he's going to get aggressive and trying to catch up that time. Because we're doing whatever we can to get in by fall of 24, so August of 24 next year. That is AMG and Associates out of Santa Clarita. Yeah, great to work with so far. Yeah, very good. Science Building in Hanford. So now we're getting into the project proposals for the state that'll be included, that I'll submit through Fusion. And the Science Building, if you recall, we submitted this as an IPP, an initial project proposal, I think 2 years ago, maybe even 3. And then we submitted it as an FPP, a final project proposal, last year. Well, that final project proposal was approved by the Chancellor's office, and now it's just awaiting state funding. So there is some talk of the state possibly going out for a statewide bond next year in November of 24, an election year. And so if that were to get approved, there is a chance that this project could be funded with those monies. I don't think we'd be right at one of the, the first or the second issuances of the funds, but we would definitely be considered up there for funding. The occupied date of fall 28, that is assuming that the project would be funded next year. So there is a handful of years before we'll actually, that'll get pushed back depending on the availability of the funds by the state. Total cost, as you can see, if you looked at last year's, it was only about $38 million project. Now they've escalated to 60. So the scope did not change. It's the same size building, same function of the project. Everything is just the same. And yeah, the cost has increased by 50%. So it is a very large building. It's about a 2-story version of the education building in Hanford, to give you an idea of the scale of it.
Who increased that? The
state
state
does.
infusion? Yeah.
So district, for these projects, the state requires a 25% local match. So for this project, a $60 million project, we're on the hook for just under $15 million. The state covers the rest. Our portion of the funds would have to be contributed at the end of the project, equipment costs as well as the tail end of construction. So if we were to occupy in 28, we'd have to provide it in 27. most likely based on this schedule. But again, we're awaiting state funding. It's going to be a number of years before we would need those funds. Project number 5 would be the Performing Arts Modernization. This was submitted as an IPP last year, initial project proposal, and that is proposing to modernize the COS Theater. As part of that, we would demolish the Ponderosa building, which is the lecture building right behind it. Both are very outdated buildings. They're not ADA friendly whatsoever. So this project would demolish that one building, modernize the theater. We would pretty much take it down to the bones. And
The existing theater
the
as well?
existing theater, we keep the structure and then just modernize it and make it accessible. So
And how long would that project take?
that project, it would, so that one, as you can see, that would also be pending state funding. The Chancellor's Office will approve one project per campus at a time, but it all depends, and this applies to both of these projects, there's scoring metrics involved for these project proposals.
So I'm talking in terms of
The actual duration of
the
construction.
actual duration of the,
I think that one was, I don't remember off the top of my head, probably a year and a half.
so the performing,
We would have to find
they would-
another,
they
yeah,
would
we'd have to
do
find
a
another
different
location.
venue or something to,
Yeah.
What's going to happen to the Ponderosa building?
We would demolish it and expand the theater building.
Okay.
Make it one large building instead of two
so
separate
it would
ones.
be used for classes.
Well, absolutely. Same function.
That are now being used, that
Correct.
the Ponderosa is serving.
So right now, it's about a 240-seat lecture facility. And so we could look at either keeping that same 240 seats, making 2 smaller ones. The nice thing is you could actually make it more of like a small theatrical venue. So it would have a full stage and, you know, so the idea of just modernizing it is gonna bring us a lot of flexibility and opportunities.
In terms of priority, though, that priority stays, right?
Number
Hanford
5,
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So nothing would change that, even scoring? Like if they got scored different,
No,
would you move?
the
No?
score, it's 2 separate campuses,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
So that comes at a cost of, an estimated cost of $23 million, 21 is construction related. District match on that, 5.8 million, again, towards the end of construction. So I'm actually working this week on finalizing all the documents, updating it in Fusion, and then we will get it submitted as soon as possible. And any questions on what we're proposing? Oh, and I did have a note. Let me add, I think it's at the bottom. No, it's actually in the narrative of the board agenda item. You'll note that I didn't add anything on the University Center or the student union buildings yet. And yet, it's not more than 5 years out, it's just I don't have the details of exactly square footages involved, the functions of the spaces worked out yet. We're kicking conversations off with an architect right now, which will be bringing something to the board next month to award the architectural services contract. So once we pin down those details, it'll be submitted in next year's 5-year plan. But it falls within, I mean, we're looking at having everything done by 2028. It's right around the corner, it's there.
So it does fit in right here between 3 and 4?
It fits in there, yeah, it definitely does. Any questions?
To authorize the 2023 submittal of the 2025-29 5-year construction plan.
Second.
By trustee Macareno, seconded by trustee Cardoza, to accept the recommended action as stated. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, no. No abstention, passes unanimously. Next item up is the change order for Basic Skills Center.
Okay, so related to what we were just talking about a little bit ago, this Basic Skills Center, also known as the Educational Support Services Project, we are getting to the tail end of construction, wrapping up. So I'm bringing forth all of the change orders on that project to date. Bundled them all up into one, so you'll see change orders 1, 2, 3, and 4 outlined in this board agenda item. I did my best to kind of summarize them, each one individually, by both cost, the percentage of the contract, and the number of additional days requested for that work. So they're very
Go ahead.
Everybody's.
There's someone else in the room that we didn't know about, because there's a phone ringing.
Was it Lewis? Hi, Lewis. Just checking the clock. So yeah, each one of these, we had a series of unforeseen conditions right off the bat in change order one when we started demolition. There were a few big items that we encountered, mainly design changes early on in the project. One of them was the redesign of the trusses for the building. And that was because the truss system that was designed had a 10-month lead time. So if you think about it, we awarded the contract in December of 21 actually. We started construction January of 22. We wouldn't have been able to fly the trusses until October of 22. We knew right away there was no way we could build the building and be done by August of 23. So we completely redesigned the trusses. I came up with a new system that would we were able to fly them in like 3 months. So that was one of the big cost increases there, and there was a domino effect of a bunch of details involved in the building itself related to those trusses, the truss changes. Another big one was audiovisual infrastructure. We did not specify any audiovisual infrastructure in the bid package. And that was primarily because we, as a district, did not know what our new standard was going to be at this time, once we occupied the building. Technology is constantly changing. The beauty of it was we created Technology Services created a new audiovisual standard for the instructional spaces that we're rolling out in this project. So it's definitely going to help us in all of our future projects, especially the one in Tulare, the CTE expansion. We already know exactly what we need in the spaces, and now we can just carry that design forward in all of our projects. And that, again, that was a big cost increase, especially getting the infrastructure in a timely manner to be able to paint all the conduit and make it look like it was supposed to be there to begin with, instead of just zip tying cables to the ceiling and doing it after the fact. So those 4 change orders, we've got them summarized there: $573,171.88, total of 4.7% increase to the contract and 40 additional days, and taking us to a contract end date of August the 12th. Any questions on the individual change order items at all?
That's well within our contingency, right?
Yes, and I did put that in the board agenda item. I think I explained that we do have, the district did set aside about, what was it? Yeah, $1,250,000 for contingency allowance in this project, and we'll end up dipping into it about $350,000. The remainder of those funds were already allocated to helping out the Tulare project.
That was my question, where's the money coming from? So
Yeah.
that answered.
We did a great job. That, and we got great bid results at the time. It's fantastic. So it was a win-win.
It was today, yeah.
Thank you for the detail that you provided. I did have just a curiosity question, if you don't mind me getting too detailed on you. 0316 talks about revised door hardware sets. It appeared to me that there were 5 doors, but maybe I'm not reading that right, which would be $7,000 per hardware set. Does that sound?
88 push buttons.
Wow,
Are they that much?
Yes.
$7,000 each?
Yes.
that's a really good door now.
Yes.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I noticed that one too, John. I was like, wow, that was
Yes.
a
So we
fancy
put 'em
door.
where
Who's
we-
going through that door?
Don't vandalize it.
We didn't have them throughout the entire building. We only had them in the areas required by code. And then realizing the occupants of the building, we have Access and Ability Center is occupying part of it. We said, you know what, it's probably just best that we just put them in some of these high-traveled areas. And that was the cost, but it's a good investment. Yeah, good question.
Entertain a motion to accept the recommended action.
So moved.
I would second.
Moved by trustee Cardoza, second by trustee Nunes to accept the recommended action as outlined by Mr. Woods. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. And no abstention, so it passes unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great job. We're up with the salaries.
I'm up. Tonight, we're seeking approval to increase the salary schedules and the medical cap for both the management group and confidential employees. Recall that our CSEA, COSTA, and COSAFA members are under a 3-year agreement by which their salaries are increased by funded COLA plus 1%, and the medical cap. Any increases are shared 50-50 between the district and the individual bargaining unit members. But the management group and the confidentials aren't covered by any of those 3 collective bargaining groups, so we come specifically to the board and ask that they be treated in a similar fashion. The state budget was passed going on 2 weeks ago with an 8.22% cost of living adjustment for the community college system. Our 3-year agreements with those groups call for COLA plus 1% for a 9.22% agreement. We would ask the same thing for our management and confidentials.
So moved.
Second.
By trustee Cardoza, second by trustee Sherman, to accept the recommendation as outlined by Dr. Calvin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, no. And no abstentions, so it passes unanimously. Next up is the agreements between district and assistant superintendents, vice presidents.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, every 2 years, we issue contracts for our 3 assistant superintendent vice presidents, one for student services, one for academic services, and one for administrative services. And so it's that time of year again. In the contract, it lays out what their salary will be, covering the 23-24 year and the 24-25 year. And then other than salary, I don't think we changed anything else. Happy to answer any questions you might have about them.
As usual, the 3 contracts are exactly the same. Am I seeing that correctly? They're all the same?
Yes, with the exception of, I think Mr. Perez's contract has because he did join the district late, he has a special provision, as his predecessor did, Ms. Staton, which allows him to receive district benefits upon his retirement. I think most COS employees must be here 10 years, and like Ms. Staton before him, I think the threshold is 5. for
I
him.
see that now, yeah.
Otherwise, they are the same.
Okay, I would move for approval.
Second.
Moved by trustee Nunes and seconded by trustee Cardoza to accept the agreements between the district and the assistant superintendents as outlined by Dr. Calvin. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No. And no abstentions, so it passes unanimously. And I think I speak for the board to all of our vice presidents, including our next speaker, by saying thank you. Heartily thank you for all that you do, and 2 years is not enough to look forward to having you without having to go back to do this again, but we do sincerely appreciate your hard work on behalf of the college.
Thank you.
With that, Mr. Perez, approval of employment agreement between the district and the superintendent president, please.
Yes, good evening, board. I'm pitch hitting for Mr. Bratch. He didn't want to show up today knowing this agenda item was on the.
Yeah, that's right.
Just joking, just joking.
He chose Jamaica over this.
He's on a cruise.
He's on a cruise.
Anyways, I'm here to present the employment contract for Dr. Calvin. And as you all know, it's a 4-year rolling contract. And what that means is upon a good evaluation by you, the board, each year. Another year is added on to his 4-year contract to maintain that 4-year contract. And this proposal, with your review and approval, it brings it out from July 1st of '23 through June 30th of '27. And 2 items, I just want to note that the proposal adds a 7.8% increase to his salary from $306 to $330, in addition to a car allowance of increase of $100 a month for his auto stipend. So with that, those are the 2 major things, along with the extra year of his employment contract. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I
If
move
not,
we approve.
Second by trustee Sherman,
Second.
second by trustee Cardoza to accept graciously the employment agreement between the district and the superintendent president. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. And no abstentions. Passes unanimously. You're stuck with us
You're stuck with me.
for another term.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That means you're gonna be on here as long as I am, so.
Go, at least.
Well, we're the same age, Greg.
Yeah, right.
Same height, too.
Prove it, Ken.
Any other items for the members?
So on that note, I'd just like to say thank you to our managers and confidential as well. We appreciate all you guys do too.
Most definitely. With that, we stand adjourned.
Easy
Thank you.
peasy.